Hey, MathKook here. This video contains one of many examples in my Algebra 2 library. The rest of those examples, along with hundreds of other videos, are only available at mathkook.com. Let's MathKook it up. Hey Kooks, this question says, graph the function f of x equals the absolute value of x squared minus 3. So let's first graph the function just x squared minus 3. We will deal with the absolute value after we have first graphed x squared minus 3. So we'll need a couple graphs and a table. So we're going to graph y equals x squared minus 3 first. So we're going to plug in our traditional points, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. All right, so if we plug in -2, we get -2 squared, which is 4, minus 3, which is 1. Next, we plug in -1. -1 squared is 1, minus 3 is -2. Plug in 0. 0 squared is 0, minus 3, -3. Plug in 1. 1 squared is 1, minus 3, gives us -2. And lastly, 2 squared is 4, minus 3 gives us 1. All right, so let's go ahead and graph. We'll start with -2, 1. So we go left 2, up 1. So our first point's right here. Then we have -1, -2. So go left 1, down 2. So our next point's right here. Then 0, -3. So straight down to -3 here. 1, -2. And then 2, 1. All right, so here's our parabola. Okay, so there's our parabola without the absolute value. So what does an absolute value do to a graph? Well, since the whole function is in absolute values, that tells us that anything that's negative, any y value that's negative, is going to be reflected up. So if you look at all these points here, all these points right here have y values that are negative. So they are going to be reflected up. Another way of looking at that is that anything in the third and fourth quadrants here get reflected up into the first and second quadrants. So I'm going to highlight that part in red here, and then we'll reflect these points up. Okay, so let's start with this point here. This point is -1, -2. So that point now is going to be -1, 2. So it'll be right here. So we'll do that in red. And then the next point is 0, -3. So that will reflect over the x-axis all the way to 0, 3 here. And then same thing with this point. 1, -2 will become 1, 2 when you reflect it up. Because remember, the y value must be positive. So now all these points are going to reflect up like this. And the graph, the new graph is going to look like this here. Now notice this blue part here is going to stay here because these y values are already positive. So the absolute value of these points will not change their values. So now let's go ahead and graph our final graph over here on the right. So our point -2, 1 is still here. So we'll go left 2, up 1. So that point is still here. And then this point right here looks like there's a x-intercept closer to -2. So we'll put that point on here as well. Kind of goes right there. There's a point there. And then -1, 2 is our next point. 0, 3, 1, 2. Again, a point here. And then a point at 2, 1. Okay, so this graph's going to go like this, like a parabola going up. Kind of a sharp, and then it curves nicely here. It's here, and then a parabola going up. All right, so this is our final graph here. So this graph right here is our f of x equals absolute value of x squared minus 3. Hey Kook, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. For unlimited access to all of my Algebra 2 videos, visit mathkook.com. Thanks for watching.